ecosystem to better measure and scale their impact. We are mapping and tracking the impacts created by our ecosystem for truly contributing to SDGs. We also look forward to working with like-minded investors who care about sustainability. With the support of the governments and businesses, we believe we would further develop the country. Walk together with investors to create a scalable impact on the broader society and ecosystem. Now, with a strong determination to focus on ESG and pursue SDGs objectives, we invite you to join us as the agents of change.
When the pandemic hit in early 2020, it became a game reset. Every high-touch and high-risk activity had been forced to move online. Ultimately, those in the digital industry. The pandemic has created a chance for entrepreneurs to rethink about problems in society and solve them efficiently through technology. East Ventures supported startup companies to identify problems, as well as to focus on their core strengths and come back stronger. Resilience, resourcefulness, and discipline become the key traits of success. The pandemic has served as a patch to Indonesia as a platform, which now has advanced digital infrastructure and more than 200 million internet users. In the end, COVID-19 is merely holding us back for a time. We are now witnessing how Indonesia's digital economy is preparing itself to slingshot towards its golden era. The recent merger of two Indonesian tech giants is a testament to the potential of Indonesia's strong digital economy. This is just the beginning of the rise of many startups in the future, from Indonesia to the world.
Indonesia, negara dengan jumlah penduduk terbesar di Asia Tenggara dan terbesar keempat di dunia. Dengan sumber daya yang luar biasa ini, East Ventures melihat potensi dan percaya terhadap kemampuan ekosistem digital Indonesia sejak 2009. Pengguna internet di Indonesia hanya 13% dari total populasi di saat itu. Kami telah menyaksikan pertumbuhan Indonesia dan mendorong semua pemangku kepentingan untuk terlibat dalam mempromosikan digitalisasi, mendukung segala peluang dan tantangannya. Tahun 2019, pandemi COVID-19 terjadi. Hal ini mempertaruhkan kondisi ekonomi dunia. Mengarungi situasi pandemi ini, akselerasi transformasi ekonomi digital pun dapat terjadi. Segala sesuatu beralih ke online, membuat Indonesia berhasil mengadopsi pertumbuhan digital dengan lebih cepat. Indonesia dapat menjadi pasar ekonomi digital yang prospektif. Di tahun 2022, kami telah ikut andil dalam membuka jalan menuju era keemasan digital Indonesia. Melalui implementasi dari building blocks, hal ini tidak lagi mustahil. Keberlanjutan ekosistem digital dapat terjaga dengan adanya infrastruktur teknologi sebagai fondasi, serta dukungan dari pemerintah digital, masyarakat digital, bisnis digital. Hal ini termasuk sektor-sektor dari e-commerce, logistik, fintech, kesehatan, pendidikan, pariwisata, dan climate. Daya saing digital antar provinsi di Indonesia pun terus bergerak dengan konsisten ke arah yang lebih baik. Hal ini terlihat dari skor East Ventures Digital Competitiveness Index yang awalnya hanya 27,9 di tahun 2020, lalu meningkat menjadi 38,5 di tahun 2023. Kedepannya, ekonomi digital Indonesia akan terus bertumbuh dengan adanya 4 faktor kunci, yaitu pemerataan ekonomi digital, penguatan fundamental bisnis, peningkatan kolaborasi antar pemangku kepentingan, dan pembangunan berkelanjutan berdasarkan pendekatan environmental, social, dan governance atau ESG. Perjalanan kita tidak pernah berakhir. Perkembangan ekonomi digital masih terus berlanjut. Ada banyak tantangan dan juga peluang di depan kita. Bersama, kita akan terus membangun keadilan digital bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia.
Over the years, we have become more intentional about creating positive impact through our investments and broader ecosystem activities. Now that the digital infrastructure is in place, we're getting into the digital golden era. An era where inclusivity of the digital ecosystem brings solutions and were developed and delivered commercially at scale. Nevertheless, it is not only a commercial return, it is a matter of impact. We believe it is sustainability. East Ventures upholds a sustainable investment strategy within a two-pronged approach of doing good and avoiding harm. We are leading the way as Indonesia's first venture capital firm to sign the Principles for Responsible Investment, supported by the United Nations. This is well aligned with the government's priorities in Indonesia's G20 presidency to succeed in sustainability through SDGs. And here is the impact journey ahead. Establish a robust management and measurement system to ensure accountability. Then work closely with portfolio companies and its ecosystem to better measure and scale their impact. We are mapping and tracking the impacts created by our ecosystem for truly contributing to SDGs. We also look forward to working with like-minded investors who care about sustainability. With the support of the governments and businesses, we believe we would further develop the country. Walk together with investors to create a scalable impact on the broader society and ecosystem. Now, with a strong determination to focus on ESG and pursue SDGs objectives, we invite you to join us as the agents of change.
When the pandemic hit in early 2020, it became a game reset. Every high-touch and high-risk activity had been forced to move online. Ultimately, those in the digital industry are the winners. The pandemic has created a chance for entrepreneurs to rethink about problems in society and solve them efficiently through technology. East Ventures supported startup companies to identify these problems, as well as to focus on their core strengths so that they could adapt to the crisis, survive the worst of the storm, and come back stronger. Resilience, resourcefulness, and discipline become the key traits of success. The pandemic has served as a patch to Indonesia as a platform, which now has advanced digital infrastructure and more than 200 million internet users. In the end, COVID-19 is merely holding us back for a time. We are now witnessing how Indonesia's digital economy is preparing itself to slingshot towards its golden era. The recent merger of two Indonesian tech giants is a testament to the potential of Indonesia's strong digital economy. This is just the beginning of the rise of many startups in the future. From Indonesia to the world.
Indonesia, negara dengan jumlah penduduk terbesar di Asia Tenggara dan terbesar keempat di dunia. Dengan sumber daya yang luar biasa ini, East Ventures melihat potensi dan percaya terhadap kemampuan ekosistem digital Indonesia sejak 2009. Pengguna internet di Indonesia hanya 13% dari total populasi di saat itu. Kami telah menyaksikan pertumbuhan Indonesia dan mendorong semua pemangku kepentingan untuk terlibat dalam mempromosikan digitalisasi, mendukung segala peluang dan tantangannya. Tahun 2019, pandemi COVID-19 terjadi. Hal ini mempertaruhkan kondisi ekonomi dunia. Mengarungi situasi pandemi ini, akselerasi transformasi ekonomi digital pun dapat terjadi. Segala sesuatu beralih ke online, membuat Indonesia berhasil mengadopsi pertumbuhan digital dengan lebih cepat. Dengan didorong oleh tingginya penetrasi internet, Indonesia dapat menjadi pasar ekonomi digital yang prospektif. Di tahun 2022, kami telah ikut andil dalam membuka jalan menuju era keemasan digital Indonesia. Melalui implementasi dari building blocks, hal ini tidak lagi mustahil. Keberlanjutan ekosistem digital dapat terjaga dengan adanya infrastruktur teknologi sebagai fondasi, serta dukungan dari pemerintah digital, masyarakat digital, dan bisnis digital. Hal ini termasuk sektor-sektor dari e-commerce, logistik, fintech, kesehatan, pendidikan, pariwisata, dan climate. Daya saing digital antar provinsi di Indonesia pun terus bergerak dengan konsisten ke arah yang lebih baik. Hal ini terlihat dari skor East Ventures Digital Competitiveness Index yang awalnya hanya 27,9 di tahun 2020, lalu meningkat menjadi 38,5 di tahun 2023. Kedepannya, ekonomi digital Indonesia akan terus bertumbuh dengan adanya 4 faktor kunci, yaitu pemerataan ekonomi digital, penguatan fundamental bisnis, peningkatan kolaborasi antar pemangku kepentingan, dan pembangunan berkelanjutan berdasarkan pendekatan environmental, social, dan governance atau ESG. Perjalanan kita tidak perkembangan ekonomi digital masih ada banyak tantangan dan juga peluang bersama. Kita akan terus membangun keadilan digital bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia.
Cek, ha, he, cek. Cek, cek. Cek, cek. Cek, ha.
Beautiful sunny afternoon. Apart from everyone who is attending offline here in person at XenSpace, we also have friends joining online via live streaming. Maybe you guys can also say hi on the comment box. So, before we begin, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Felicia from XenVentures, and I will be your MC for the day. So, for the agenda today, we'll first start with a presentation on the Climate Impact Innovations Challenge, followed by Q&A session, and then we'll have a panel discussion with the topic Balancing Act, how can nations and corporations achieve net zero while growing rapidly, also followed by Q&A session, and we'll also have a networking session for everyone coming here offline. For everyone coming online, you can also have your own networking session, say hi in the comment box, and maybe do a little bit of introduction as well. All right, to keep the spirit up, maybe can I get another round of applause from everyone? Woo! Thank you so much. Okay, so let's just start on to our first agenda of the day. We're going to get to know more about the largest climate impact innovations tech platform of the year. And to introduce you about the program, we'll have our partner from XenVentures. Please welcome Avina Sugiarto. Let's give her a round of applause. Hello? Okay.
Our days begin and end in the same way, trapped by repetition and routine. We go on about our days like usual, but unconsciously, our decision changes the course of how the world operates. Little did we know, the world is changing. We are facing a serious threat of climate change, and no one in this world is immune from it. The world is facing one of its most important challenges, reaching net zero emissions by 2050. Every year, we produce an unbelievable amount of greenhouse gas emissions. If all the ice at the poles and on mountaintops were to melt, the sea level would rise by 216 feet. This is enough to submerge 15 floors of a building. There is an urgent need for the world to act immediately. Coming off a low base, venture capital funding for climate tech companies in Southeast Asia saw a rapid increase in the last 5 years. However, Indonesia has only received 13.1% of total funding since 2012, which is a big difference compared to its neighboring country, such as Singapore, with 80.4% of total funding within the same period. We believe there is still much that we can do to work hand in hand in overcoming this challenge. This year, XenVentures and Temasek Foundation present Climate Impact Innovations Challenge, or CIIC, Indonesia's largest climate innovations tech platform of the year. This initiative is aimed to provide opportunities for tech innovators to demonstrate their sustainable innovations in addressing ecological challenges and mitigating the impacts of climate change. The teams will compete in 4 tracks for a total prize pool of 10 billion Indonesian rupiah. The 4 tracks of the challenges are renewable energy, new ideas, innovations, and technologies that describe how we generate better adoption and distribution of renewable energy and improve energy efficiency in a low-cost and inclusive manner. Food and agriculture. For a blue economy, innovative solutions to utilize marine resources sustainably to ensure the welfare of coastal communities. We believe solving these issues requires innovative solutions. Prepare yourself as we challenge you to become the agent of change.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Probably say hi to everyone who's joining online as well. I won't take too much of the time to share about the climate challenge here, since I'm sure everybody's already so excited to hear about the panel that our three speakers, wonderful speakers here, are already waiting for. So maybe we go to the next slide on the program information. Okay. So Climate Impact Innovations Challenge was launched on 1st of March, and we are calling for applications on climate tech solutions and solutions that can help to decarbonize and that can be scaled up in Indonesia. Going to the next slide. The challenge is brought to you by Temasek Foundation that has supported a diverse range of programs to uplift lives and communities in Singapore. We have partnership with Temasek Foundation in Indonesia as well through their philanthropic endowments and gifted by Temasek. Its ventures, we are pioneering and leading venture capitals in Indonesia. We have invested in over 300 portfolio companies and become one of the first venture capital in Indonesia to sign the United Nations Principle of Responsible Investments. We are very excited to bring this challenge so that we can bring more and more climate tech innovations for a lot of the businesses and governments around the region. As we've seen in the video earlier, there are 4 tracks here. The first one is renewable energy, where we are seeking innovations, and it includes supply chain that can disrupt the way we generate and better adopt distribution of renewable energy, improve energy efficiency in a low cost and inclusive manner. The second one is food and agriculture in terms of improving the way we plant, the way we produce and distribute our food, and also ensuring our food security. The third one here is mobility, whereby we are looking for new technology, whether it's electric vehicle and its supply chain, to address the growing demand in sustainable mobility and its supply chain. And last but not least is on the ocean side, whereby how do we utilize marine resources and improving livelihood of the coastal communities. Okay, next slide. What are the applicant criteria, right? So the first one is we're looking at pilot to create the minimum viable product and intention for commercialization. Second one, in terms of possessing an original and innovative proposal. Number 3 is we propose impactful solutions that can address key challenges in one of the 4 tracks that we discussed. Number 4, presenting a feasible solution that can be adopted quickly. And number 5, potential for commercially viable solutions. So these are the criteria that the judges will be looking at on the solutions applications that will be coming in. Okay, what have been prepared? Ini mungkin yang paling exciting ya. Total prize pool of 10 billion rupiah for the winners, as well as access to global exposure, access to investors, mentors, and also other exclusive benefits that have been prepared by the partners. This is the program timeline. So we have launched it in the 1st of March 2023. The most important date is 26 May, whereby the application will be closed. So 2 more weeks to go for all of you innovators out there to apply for the challenge and have the chance to win the prize money. Okay, and would like to thank our partners from Triputra Agro, Heng Dean, our investor partners, Telkomsel, Mitra Inovasi, Rumah Group, and we have many challenge partners and outreach partners as well in this program. All right, I think that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Avina. Let's give a round of applause for Avina for her presentation about Climate Impact Innovation Challenge. So make sure everyone you stay tuned on our social media to get the most updated information. You can follow us on Instagram or Twitter at CIIC_C. that's SEA. And then we also have our LinkedIn Climate Impact Innovation Challenge. And don't forget to apply by 26 May on climateimpactinnovations.com. All right, so it's getting more exciting. We are going to enter the next session, which is the panel discussion. But before that, I'll remind everyone to stay tuned and also to prepare your questions for the next panel discussions, because we have some exciting gifts for you guys as well. So the topic for our panel discussions, as you guys can also see, is balancing act. How can nations and corporations achieve net zero while growing rapidly? So again, if you have any questions for those attending here at Sendit, you can raise your hand later during the Q&A session. And for those joining online, don't forget to also share your questions on the comment box. All right, so first, I'm going to introduce the moderator, and then we'll be followed by all the speakers as well. But to get to know more better about the moderator and also the speaker, I'll also share a little bit of background about them. So for our moderator, Avina Sugiarto is a partner at XenSpace. She has over 12 years of experience in investing across alternative assets, including venture capital, private equity, private credit, and special situations across industries. Avina leverages her extensive experiences to invest in seed to growth stage technology companies and drive sustainability and integration of ESG practices in XenSpace investments. So you guys must be familiar with her because she was here in the stage before this. So let's welcome back on stage Avina Sugiarto. Please give us a round of applause. All right, on to the speakers. We are very honored to have with us three distinguished speakers who are experts in their respective fields and have made significant contributions towards combating climate challenge, especially in Indonesia. So again, I'm going to introduce one by one our speaker. The first one is Muhammad Yusrizki, the head of KADIN Net Zero Hub. With over 25 years of experience, he has played a pivotal role in strategy, investment, and business transformations across industries. He established KADIN Net Zero Hub as the focal point for climate resilience initiatives for the Indonesian private sector. Through Net Zero Hub, KADIN encourages all companies from conglomerates to SMEs to start their journey towards net zero. So let's give a round of applause for Muhammad Yusrizki. Welcome on stage. Okay, moving on to the second speaker, we have Heng Dean, a senior advisor on carbon markets and sustainability with PT Triputra Agro Persada Tbk, with an educational and professional background in accounting, finance, and foreign affairs. Heng Dean has worked on sustainability and climate issues for years and managed strategic relationship in Southeast Asia while working with Temasek. He was involved in setting up Gen Zero, a $5 billion investment platform owned by Temasek that focus on carbon markets and decarbonization. So let's welcome Mr. Heng Dean on stage. Please give him a round of applause as well. Okay, we have one more speaker joining us on the panel today. We have Almo Pradana, the Deputy Program Director for Climate, Energy, Cities, and the Ocean of WRI Indonesia. Almo has been instrumental in leading the development of the clean energy portfolio within WRI Indonesia and is currently in charge of leading clean energy investment accelerator work. He has also been working in restoration initiatives aimed at restoring and monitoring Indonesia's threatened peatland ecosystem. So please welcome Almo Pradana. Let's give him a round of applause as well. All right, on to you, Avina, for the panel discussion.
All right, thank you so much, Philly. Hi everyone. Hope everyone has a good afternoon today, this Friday. Thank God it's Friday, right, for the weekend. Okay, I guess we'll get started to the more serious questions. I'm gonna start with Mas Yus.
Baru belajar.
Baru mau nyontek ya, Mas. Okay, Masius, maybe to start with, since we're talking about net zero, right, on the panel discussion on balancing act, how can nations and corporations achieve net zero while growing rapidly? We want to hear more about Net Zero Hub. Why was it established? What was your vision and mission? Yeah, and I hear there are over 100 companies that already committed. So tell us more about that journey.
First thing, I think I have to comment on the title, Balancing Act. It seems that there is two acts, growing and what? Net zero. There is no such thing, two sides of a coin. We are talking about one side only. KADIN Indonesia believe this net zero is the only viable pathway to grow. Okay? And this is not only for company as a growth engine of our economy, but it's also for economy, Indonesian economy. We're now having, so this is something that I need to convince the entrepreneurs, right? The tech entrepreneurs who want to enter this space. So moving forward, for Indonesian economy, for Indonesian business community, there's no other way. We have to be net zero. 2045, I also mentioned to many people, now KADIN Indonesia is working on the 2045 vision. It's our golden anniversary of Indonesia, 100 years old. And maybe all of you has heard that we want to be the 5th largest economy in the world, right? There's no way we can be the 5th largest economy in terms of GDP if we don't have bigger volume of trade, right? Globally, today we have an issue with CBAM. I think most of you know it. During this ASEAN summit, leader summit, yesterday, it's become a big issue how the national policy of ASEAN country member has to deal with this, CBAM. So you can imagine 2045, not only EU, most of the region, countries, will also have this climate-aligned trade policy. So, 2045, if you don't put this sustainability or net zero in the heart of our economic strategy, nobody wants to do trade with Indonesia. How could we become 5th largest economy, right? So, let's see this as like, you drive a big, huge vessel of our economy. We know we're gonna hit this iceberg, for sure. You can see the iceberg already, 2050, right? The milestone of this climate. We even have 2030 milestone to halve the emission, correct? My science? Yeah. Right? We have to make a big turn with this big vessel, huge vessel of our economy. So let's start now and put this sustainability and net zero in the heart of our conversation, of our strategy, of our value chain engagement. So there is no way this title will be exist anymore. Only one side. Economic growth with net zero. So that's my comment. So what's the question again? Sorry.
Tell us about the vision.
Okay. Net Zero Hub. This COP28 this year marks second year of our Net Zero Hub. And this last 2 years, our year of inception is 2021, and we had the COP26. Now we are going to have this COP28. These last 2 years, we are fortunate to have so many positive response from NGOs, global NGO, global think tanks like WRI, multinational company, the likes of Nike, Adidas, H&M, HSBC, and many others. Also the national company in Indonesia. I think these last 2 years, we are fortunate to have very important base for Indonesian private sectors moving towards net zero. We, as you may know, we embrace GIG protocol to be our framework on doing accounting, GIG accounting, and also we adopt SBTI as our framework on emission reduction, and we also advocate the company to do disclosure as well as to align their sustainability report to the TCFD. So that's very fundamental for us. This year, we want to focus on how we as a private sector become a subject, no longer become an object of any climate policy. We can mention the carbon tax, for example, carbon price, and all others, because we want to link those policies with our climate target. Because we believe what we've been doing, what we've been working together with our strategic partner like the WRI is creating the capability of Indonesian company to have what we call it credible transition plan. Because that's very important. What is the credible transition plan? It's a comprehensive plan, time-bound transition plan that will that cover operation, not only operation basically, their investment, their value engagement, their value chain engagement, their future expansion, including the technology. So technology has to be part of the strategy. And technology, as we all know, do not operate in a vacuum, right? It has to be helping to enable the company to reduce the emission to achieve their target, right? And also, the company has to know when they use any specific technology. And this is something that related to the economics, the investment, and as well as the regulatory framework. So that's what we've been working on. So hopefully, by saying this, I want to tell you that we are creating the demand side for all of you to be the supply side of the solution. That's where I think this challenge is important for the ecosystem.
Yes, that's great. So actually that's very, very exciting to see that the demand side is very much developing, and Mas Yus here has been working extensively with a lot of the private corporations in Indonesia in addition to the government side, right? To engage with and try to implement a lot of the technology solutions so that more and more so we can move towards the net zero targets. Okay, so I'll move on to Heng Dean. As the representative of Triputra, right? I think Triputra has been known as a company that has applied sustainable principles in the business's activities. We want to kind of listen from a private company perspective on how do you align the financial profit and climate targets, right? I think that's one part of the question. The other part is what are initiatives that Triputra is working on at the moment to really contribute to this new green economy that Indonesia is developing.
Hello? Yeah. So the first part, you might need to remind me on the second part. The first part, I think in terms of alignment between sustainability and profitability, right? I think but Yusrizki, yeah, I think what he mentioned is very much on point. It's no longer a balancing act. And it's not just for You imagine the companies that probably have to pay a bit more attention to these are resources companies, agriculture companies, but actually it applies across the board. There shouldn't be any conflict because end of the day, if there's no planet, there's no profit. I think for Triputra Agro, I mean, we have to look at three things. The three P's, people, prosperity, and planet. And the three, you can't really separate one from the other. Because no people, you can't protect the planet. And obviously, in order to get the people going, you need prosperity. Because end of the day, that's the reality of life. I think for the palm oil industry as a whole, I think there's been a bit of attention over the years. And I think the palm oil industry has actually improved its track record. And it is actually a driver of change as well. Because for the palm oil side, we have our own plantations, our Inti nucleus plantations, but we also have to work with a lot of smallholder farmers, sometimes in a long, complicated supply chain. And these are the guys that actually make a lot of difference. And they are basically, they don't have access to financial services, they don't have access to agronomic practices, agricultural practices. So it's important for Triputra Agro and the industry as a whole to work with these partners. Yeah, they are suppliers to us, but by helping them, we also help ourselves. And helping them also benefits their prosperity, also benefits the planet. So because like adopting some of these good agricultural practices, for example, you manage the application of fertilizers. Fertilizers actually is one of the sources of greenhouse gases. So if you help them do things a bit more efficiently, a bit more targeted, you actually reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and you actually save money for them because fertilizer prices are actually quite expensive, especially after the Ukraine war. So there's no contradiction between the two. So that's from the side of operations. I think from investments, so Triputra Agro is also a listed company. So we have a few main shareholders. One of them is actually the Government Investment Corporation of Singapore, GIC. So increasingly large institutional investors like GIC, like Temasek, I used to be with Temasek for a long time, they're asking questions. They want to understand the risks. But for companies, it's not just about risk, it's also about opportunities. If you can do things the right way, you save money, you help the people, you increase productivity. So all these are not at odds with each other. But the companies do have to put in an effort. I think like what Yusrizki mentioned just now, I think one of the first things is you need to measure. I did study accounting in a previous life. If you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So the first thing and probably the easiest thing to measure is actually greenhouse gases. Albeit the greenhouse gas protocol has its own complexities. But actually, companies need to start thinking about how to measure the emissions. It need not be perfect because under the greenhouse protocol, there are 3 different categories: Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. Scope 3 is probably the most complicated because it involves your supply chain and so on and so forth. But you can start something first. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. So, but you need to start somewhere. And measurement is probably one of the ways to think about. Then once you have the measurement in place, then you can start thinking about targets, then having a plan, then getting your companies to start thinking about how to organize yourselves to reach those goals. Because at the end of the day, you need people, you need the budget to meet those goals. So in terms of what the second part of the question, what Triputra is doing, I think we are trying to contribute. I think on the palm oil sustainability front, we have been member of a few initiatives. I think obviously it benefits Triputra Agro. I think it also helps to foster that engagement and interaction within the industry. Because if the whole industry is not going on the right direction in terms of sustainability, even if Triputra Agro is doing the right thing, I think it'll be a bit challenging lah. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we are selling the product into a market. So the challenge is not just for Triputra Agro. So we try our best to contribute to efforts like initiatives like, there's one that's under the World Economic Forum called Peace Agro. Yeah. And we also have interactions with different NGOs, different working with KADIN and so on and so forth, to basically compare notes. What are the common issues, challenges? It could be smallholders, it could be greenhouse gas emissions from our own operations, and I think more recently, as my title suggests, we're also looking at carbon markets. Carbon markets, I think, is a way. It's a business. End of the day, it's a business, but it's also a way to channel mainstream financing towards the protection, restoration of vulnerable ecosystems. Could be oceans, could be forests, and that is the means to the end. The means is important because at the end of the day, you need to have a business case behind it. But the end is probably even more important because it's talking about planet. And again, no planet, no business. That's the long and short of it. Yeah. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all excited with the potential of the green economy in Indonesia. Right? You spoke about the carbon market and also the transition for sustainability in the country. Yes, I'm going to go to Mas Almo now. Mas Almo, I think WRI works closely with leaders in government and businesses to realize environmental and economic potential. Maybe if you can share a bit more on WRI and its initiatives in Indonesia and the ways you work with government and businesses, right, in terms of prioritizing growth and profitability, and I think we talk a bit about challenges as well there.
Since the panelists are all talking about the balancing act and share their thoughts,
which Mas Yus
I want to share
pointed.
mine. I want to share
that
mine.
we shouldn't, balance.
Yesterday I had a weird conversation with my friend, and this friend said to me that, hey, I want to lose weight, and that's why I now drink this, vegetable juice. But when I see him, he's still eating all those gorengan as well. So it's similar to what companies are doing right now. They need to realize that you have to stop eating all the gorengan. Gorengan is fritters, basically. You have to stop eating the gorengan and drinking the vegetable juice. They cannot just simply think that when installing solar panel and keep producing all those emissions, the externalities also would not stop. And they are still actively contributing to the warming of the planet. So Mas Yus, I just want to expand a few notes that my fellow panelists have said, right? Mas Yus mentioned that the 1.5 degrees Celsius, and that should be the goal. That should be the North Star, basically, for everyone, right? Indonesia, Singapore, all the countries have majority ratified or adopted the 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050 or sooner, hopefully in 2030. So all these companies need to understand that we are not on track at the moment. We are actually on track on 3.2 degrees Celsius by 2050. I mean, even right now, right, we can only see all the coral bleaching, all the varieties of weird temperatures happening everywhere, all over the place. Those are basically due to the fact that we are not on track to reduce the global temperature. So not only that we need skill, everyone doing at the same time, but everyone doing more at the same time. And if you look into the IPCC reports, every single year they put a doom prediction year over year, basically. All those scientists that were paid by the UN, by technically our taxpayers, because Indonesia contributed to the UNFCCC, all said that it is not improving, the condition is not improving. There is no plateauing of the global temperature increase, there is no reducing, we are still on track to get to 3.2 degrees Celsius by 2050. So it's really dangerous. Now, we now agreed, at least, right, that what Heng Dean mentioned, right, we would not know, we could not manage what we do not know, basically, or we could not manage what we do not measure. And I think the demand side perspective from Pak Yus just now is important. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a country, at least here in Indonesia, there is pretty much, in terms of the utilities that governs our life, power, water, etc., are basically vertically integrated. Right? You know, it is controlled by the government. It is owned by the state-owned enterprises, and it is not. It is basically technically monopoly or at least duopolies. There are not much innovations that would come from that kind of controlled ecosystem or markets. The innovations come from what Avina presented in the early on, those 4 sectors. Agriculture, energy use, basically, ocean, and also e-mobility. Those are the demand side of the thing, basically. Those are the end use, those are us. Those are us that buy the products that we are wearing, use the products on our hair, basically. We can control that because we are the stakeholders. Well, for Heng Dean, Temasek is his shareholder. They can demand Heng Dean to reduce their emission, but we can actually demand more. Now, onto the companies, I think there are many pathways for us to provide solutions, Avina. I think for this first round, I just want to mention that WRI is pretty much focusing on one, helping companies to measure their emission. Companies cannot just say that, I think my emission is this much, you know. That's why I installed the solar panel, I think it's enough, right? I'm done. No, it's not enough. Why? Because you don't know that it's enough. You do not know how much emission that you contributed to the world, right? You have to measure it. So climate solutions on measuring emissions, valid. A lot of startups, a lot of companies, smaller companies, research universities, ITB, UI of the world basically are helping companies to measure their emission. That's number 1. Number 2, what are they measuring with? So there are several only peer-reviewed and internationally recognized tools out there to measure emissions. Heng Dean mentioned the scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Those are basically part of the greenhouse gas protocols. The scope 1 is, scope 2 is basically your own primary energy use and also your emission contribution. Scope 3 is basically the contractors, basically. You know, when companies that produces this short or these pants, you know, subcontracted their yarn, subcontracted the chemical, subcontracted the coloring of these pants, basically. Those are basically owned by those brands that own these pants, but need to be counted as part of their emission supply chain. Now, that is the counting. The alignment for the 1.5 degree would come from the something that is called Science-Based Target Initiative. It will provide pathways for companies to reduce their emission and to align with 1.5 degree by 2050. Now, I need to scale back a little bit, Avina, and clarify why companies are important. Why are they more important than us, basically, people, right, individuals? The energy intensity of Indonesia are basically 60% and is on its way to overtake majority of all Indonesia energy emission, basically. So if I could put it in another way, PLN most precious customers are basically industries, not us. Number 2, the energy intensity or the emission intensity are basically 74% are coming from heat, not electricity. Right, so we have to distinguish the two, right? Electricity or power are pretty much the purview of PLN, while the rest are basically heat. 74%, can you imagine? It's coming from heat or cooling. So those type of energy needs that are used in factories in Jawa Barat, factories in South Sumatra, factories in Surabaya, you know. So it is important if you want to think about the climate solutions, don't fixate yourself into power. Don't fixate yourself into you know, think beyond electricity, guys. Provide solutions where company needs assessment for something, where companies needs alternative fuel for something, when companies need a new method of producing things from their jurisdiction somewhere. You know, a lot of innovations can be driven and can be digged up from the end use rather than from the supply side. So I think that would be the best way for us to look into this matter, because the innovations are from there, Avina, and that's what WRI is working on.
Okay, thank you so much. It's very exciting to give a bit more ideas as well for a lot of the innovators out there, right, who wants to apply for the challenge and obviously want to do something good for the country and the environment. I'm gonna go back to Mas Yus. So I want to ask a bit more on what Mas Almo mentioned earlier. Share us a bit more from your personal experience, right, working with 100+ companies within KADIN Net Zero Hub. What are the challenges? What are the solutions that they have asked you to essentially provide, or the solutions that they are looking for within the KADIN Net Zero Hub platform?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think from experience that we had until now, but I have to tell you that KADIN Net Zero Hub's focus this last 1.5 years is to help company to create the plan, right? To assist them, of course, doing the GIG accounting, as well as now we are about to bring our second phase of what we call it corporate assistance program. This program, last year we were incubating 10 companies doing the baselining, and 6 out of 10 they are now committed to the SBTI and start to do the goal setting. The interesting lesson learned from these companies and other companies, of course, during our conversation, once they measure, then they know exactly what to do, right? So this is what my colleagues just mentioned, that if they don't measure, they cannot manage. So naturally, the idea of solution is coming from the activity when they do measurement. So that's number one. The second, I think starting from having this process of creating or developing the transition plan is important for innovator, for a platform of innovation to deal with. This is something that I always raise to institutions like East Venture. How then we can have this engagement is not only after the company define their roadmap or their credible transition plan, because once they end up or come up with the plan, I think they already come up with the ideas or even the technology provider. So we have to find a way to have this platform meet. So then there always communication between the demand side and the potential of supply side of the solution, because they need an idea during their measurement and then even during their developing the plan. They need an idea. This is the missing link, I think, that we need to fulfill between, I heard in Singapore, for example, from our colleague in the Temasek Foundation, they have sort of like innovation center when the company having a problem of any solution, they can come to this innovation hub or innovation center. So then they discuss with any potential tech company or with a consultant in the innovation center. So this is something that we don't have. And KADIN Net Zero Hub is also having more questions coming from our members, they need this, they need that. Like what Almo said, heat is the biggest problem. And I think we need a lot of potential innovation to address heat. When we talk about the company emission reduction roadmap. So heating or heat is a very big area that you guys can focus on, and to get more detail on what is it exactly in each industry, that's something that we need to map out. Unfortunately, we've discussed with the Ministry of Industry and the Ministry of Energy. We don't have a map of heating in Indonesia. Meaning, if we have specific industry with their legacy technology today to provide the heat for each of industry, maybe it could help us on looking at the potential demand of the heat to be replaced with new sustainable technology. That's something that I think I can share with you.
Okay, great. Maybe a bit of follow-up question as well. You're also leading the ASEAN Summit on the sustainability front. Maybe if you can share a bit of what initiatives is Indonesia presidency is bringing.
Okay, it's coming from the theme of the ASEAN epicenter of growth. So like we envision that there's no growth without this sustainability, without this net zero, and knowing that ASEAN will grow more and more, becoming the global supply base for any industry, I think we need to show to the world that we have a credible transition plan. So then all the partners, the UK, US, EU, China, and all ASEAN partners will be more confident to do more trade with ASEAN, so ASEAN can grow. That's basically the idea why we have what we call it ASEAN Net Zero Hub as a legacy program. So this ASEAN Net Zero Hub, basically, we want to extend the conversation. We want to have more initiative in ASEAN country members to have a local platform like KADIN Net Zero Hub. So then they can also lead the movement towards this net zero within the private sector in each country. So that's basically what we are doing now with other countries.
Okay, that's a great legacy. I think it's a good segue to a conversation with Heng Dean, right, coming from Singapore. What do you foresee in terms of collaboration between the two countries, Indonesia and Singapore? Also kind of putting your investment experience in the past, looking at the potential for climate innovations in Indonesia.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for collaboration, and not just between Singapore and Indonesia. I think regionally as well. A friend once told me that regardless of the political boundaries, we're actually the same environmental ecosystem. So whatever happens in one countries affects the other. Especially, we are close neighbors. Actually, it's not even a regional issue. I think like what Pak Yus mentioned earlier on, the carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is sort of like a tax that be imposed by the European Union on high carbon intensive products entering the European region. This is a global issue now. And obviously, I think ASEAN, Singapore, Indonesia, we are important part of the global economy. We don't exist in a vacuum. The products from Indonesia, they have to go somewhere. Even if they say, okay, you go to India, China, where maybe the level of awareness, understanding of the environment is less. But even then, the trend is also increasing. The consciousness about the importance of environment is also increasing in China. So like it or not, the direction for some of these other key markets is also going down the same road. Maybe not as the same level as Europe, but I think people see it in their daily lives in terms of the high temperatures, extreme weather, so on and so forth. I think between Singapore and Indonesia specifically, I think there's a lot of room for collaboration. It's a two-way traffic lah. And two-way traffic could mean people, scientific knowledge, exchanges between the universities, for instance. There is already collaboration. And also, I guess, money as well. And again, I think it need not be one-way traffic. I think there are, like, for example, East Ventures. I think you also look beyond Indonesia. Although, yes, I mean, Indonesia is probably a primary market. And actually, even in countries like Philippines and Thailand, some of them are leaders in their own right in various areas of the economy related to climate, for instance, geothermal. So geothermal, obviously, Indonesia has potential, but so does Philippines. Yeah, if you talk about oceans, Thailand is also quite advanced in some of their aquaculture or fishing practices. So the potential for collaboration in terms of leveling up between companies, between NGOs, between governments is always there. I think in the ideal world, obviously, ASEAN is not like EU. We don't have it's not so centralized. So ASEAN organization cannot say you do this, you do that. It has to be a bit more organic. In the ideal world, we probably try to address some of the more, the sectors which are a bit more emissions intensive. Cooling, for instance. Yeah, because cooling is a challenge faced by all ASEAN countries. We're all feeling very hot, right? Without aircon, we can't function, especially in Singapore. But the power side is also a significant challenge, because coal plants is not just in Indonesia. It's also in Philippines, also in Thailand, also in Malaysia. So whatever you can apply, whatever innovations, challenges, efficiencies you apply for coal plants in Indonesia, for instance, can be applied elsewhere. Yeah, so it need not just be between Singapore and Indonesia. I think the flow of money, expertise, opportunities, I think it should be crisscrossing all over. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we do want to see more ASEAN collaborations and more of our products going to ASEAN, right? More of our services as well, and similarly looking at that flows. So going to Mas Almo now. WRI has hundreds of active projects, I can imagine, in over 50 countries in the world. Yeah. From halting tropical deforestation, creating net zero roadmaps, and also working with government and businesses, right? Can you share more about the initiatives that you have in Indonesia, maybe a couple of examples of exciting projects that we're working on here in Indonesia?
Sure. With regards to companies, of course, assisting KADIN Net Zero Hub since its inception and even before was a faithful encounter with Mas Yus and his very much dedicated team to pretty much realize what the companies needed. Mas Yus keeps saying credible transition plan, and that's what we have been doing with KADIN Net Zero Hub, so that's obvious. Number two, we take a look at what the associations cannot do, right? We are a knowledge partner. We are not for profit. We do not sell products. We are pretty much agnostic on the climate solution itself. Our positioning is always that when you aggregate your decarbonization demand, you can demand more to the government. You cannot go separately, one by one, through PLN, one to ASDM, one to these ministries or the agencies. You have to band together. You have to agree on what is the big picture and ask that. And now with the assistance of KADIN Net Zero Hub, that is the perfect platform for us to work with. Number two, I think for With regards to the combination of climate solutions, we have a lot. So we have this initiative called Land Use Assessment Program and also Climate Mitigation, whereby we assist two interesting companies, very much interesting because they are working together, they are competitors. One need to preserve the water quality in an area, one need to cut down the biomass in that area. And now they agree that I think the best solution for both of us here is actually to use bamboo, lah, you know. Bamboo are pretty much grass in Indonesia. When we plant them, we preserve the water. And they need to be replanted in order for them to grow. That kind of solution is something that we are embarking for several companies also under KADIN Net Zero Hub. Right. The other solutions that we are working on is to calculate the emission intensity of the companies that we assisted. So I'm only sharing with you the one that related to the energy side or the demand side basically. Calculating how much they produce, how much they emit, what kind of sectors within their holdings, for example, if they are a big holding companies or if they are conglomerates, how much that those holdings need to reduce, and pretending or playing basically with the fact that what happen if within one holding and that holding have 3 or 4 different commodities, for example. One is producing palm oil, one is producing tractor, one is producing battery, right? You know, what if internally within our holding they impose shadow carbon tax? What if we starting to put that shadow carbon tax into our book? How will it look later on when the government of Indonesia finally impose that tax? So we are preparing these companies to understand and to internalize the carbon budget, because it is important. Mas Yus, Heng Dean also mentioned the carbon border adjustment mechanism. Those are threats that Indonesian companies face. What would happen if we suddenly cannot export anymore to European Union market? You know, a lot of game overs here for our jobs, for our people, and that's really important. And those are only a subset of what WRI in Indonesia is doing. But we have a lot of things going on series. We have a lot of going on e-mobility. We have a lot also going on forest monitoring. But those are basically the sectors where we see a lot of innovation to happen, basically, and not only looking into the supply side.
Okay, so diversified and exciting sectors. All right, so I think we are almost running out of time, but we do have some time for questions in the audience. So if there's anyone who wants to ask questions, okay, we have 2 questions. I think at the back first.
Hello, my name is Aulia, I'm from Ambrix. I asked the same question to Ambassador of Sweden that time in one of the workshops. She told us about the technology, the green technology. The question is, all the technology she provide for us in Indonesian market, very expensive. So the solution is how to get the cheapest price for Indonesian, as we only own rupiah, yeah? And then the answer is the government will our problem is now water in the dry season. So how you wanna help us? That's the first one. And the second one, for PT Triputra Agro, to get the net zero energy is totally easy for you because you own, your company is plant-based, yeah? I mean like the plantation. How about the mining? Non-plant-based. Thank you. It's gonna be difficult, yeah, for like mining. Thank you so much.
I know Mas Yus has a view on that, on the second question, but maybe I'll let, you know, if anyone wants to take the first question as well.
So the expensive technologies, I'm just going to take a stab at it. I'm not sure that if I can fully answer that, but technologies that are now implemented in Indonesia for the context of companies decarbonization are massive. So therefore, it requires capital injection, which would come only from a help. It can come from an interested technological provider that would need to try their technologies, whether that could be successful or not for Indonesian context. Number two, it could be facilitated through the likes of PT SME. It could also be facilitated through the multinational or the multilateral development banks, right? We know that all those routes have their own challenges and bureaucracy, but we've seen successes when what Mas Yus and I call the primaries, or the owner of the supply chain, basically, wanted to implement the technology because they have the drive, they have the commitment, they have the capital, and they have the requirement to comply with the regulation that they themselves impose wherever their headquarters is, Swiss or German or Paris or whatnot. Now, for the context of the seaside community, etc., I think there could be a way for that community to, one, perhaps integrate what are their end productive use. Is it a combination of energy and food, for example? Whether that can be solved by, for example, a combination of ground-mounted or modular energy provider plus, I don't know, cooling system for their fisheries that have been tried in several other Eastern Indonesian market, but that might not be suitable for Pangandaran market, for example.
We own the water and then the wind. Maybe that's gonna be solution.
Exactly.
But the problem is, who will provide the solution?
So yeah, it's
the government impossible, yeah. Because I speak up about one thing, the bridge. The bridge, it was bamboo bridge. So I speak up to the government. It takes year, and then finally the bridge is better now. So I need to speak up more. Government cannot help us.
I would recommend a smaller scale, perhaps a smaller scale concept, and then try to get the pitch correct for all these interested potential investors, I would say. So there are I'm sure that there are a lot of companies that would be interested.
I'm just a citizen. How do I find the investor?
Well, you have to band together, right? Because we are talking about climate solutions. So you have to prepare a concept to solve that problem. That's my recommendation. Maybe others?
Okay. Well, hopefully, this initiative can help, right? That's why I think, ideally for us who are living in Indonesia, hopefully we don't have to import solutions from as far away as from Sweden. Hopefully we can find solutions here in the country as well, and make it something that's local, that's affordable, that's accessible for us here, and can help to decarbonize as well at the same time.
And one thing also, if I speak up on social media, I'm really scared they will catch me. Thank you.
Maybe Mas Yus, you want to take, okay, Heng Dean, you want
Yeah, sorry, your question about Triputra Agro, how we fund our renewable.
For Triputra, this is with zero net, because the plant-based, about the plantation, how about the other mining, like gold or something?
I think it also kind of relates to the first question as well. I think the cost of renewables, especially for solar, the cost of solar panels have dropped considerably. I think the Indonesian government is also trying to develop its own solar panel manufacturing industry. And I think Indonesia does have supplies of silica, which is the raw material for solar panels. I think so that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation, especially for renewables or solar, is batteries. So the cost of batteries, I am not too sure, but I suspect it's been coming down as well. If you look at Tesla, for instance, so Tesla obviously is famous for cars, but they also sell batteries for home use. So for example, if there's an extended power outage, say in case of a flood or some natural disasters, families in the US can use it. So I'm not saying that that may be applicable to, I mean, you probably can't buy the Tesla battery and use it in Indonesia, but point being is that the technology, the cost could be coming down. I think in terms of financing, the typical financing preference is aggregation and scale. If it's just one village, the bank probably won't be interested. If you can aggregate a bit, then amongst that few villages, it's easier for a bank to, I mean, the bank can deploy more, it's more efficient for the bank to lend to a group of villagers or a group, a cooperative for instance, or a group of cooperatives rather than just one village. And within that group, you can also do a bit of risk sharing as well. So for other companies, I think they have to, I mean, mining or other companies, I think they have, it is a challenge in a sense that if they rely on a grid, then that is probably the easiest way. But the thing is that I think the supply of renewable is not really quite there with demand. I think the demand for renewables is actually quite high in Indonesia. But for now, I think the source of the power is still probably, a lot of it is coal-driven. So unless you have the land to build your own solar plant, it may be a bit tricky. But if you're like a mining company, if you do have access to land, then maybe solar panels, if it's decreasing cost, it may help. Now, I think the thing is it will not completely replace. But even that, I think makes a bit of a difference. Yeah, rather than not relying totally on diesel or relying totally on coal. You start somewhere. And then I think that's and power is not the end all and be all. I think you can think about how to make your operations more efficient. Getting machinery that is probably uses less energy. And all that, I think that the banks nowadays are more amenable. If you can prove to them that this is for sustainability, some of the bigger companies can even get what they call a sustainability-linked loan. If you prove that you can reduce energy, they will give you a cheaper interest rate. But it goes back to whether you can measure it and whether you can attain it. Yeah. So it's not a perfect world. And sometimes I think banks, companies, investors need to be a bit creative. But some of these things may, we have made a bit of progress. So if we don't keep on experimenting, we will never, make some improvements. So better to start somewhere and then figure out things along the way rather than not do anything at all. I mean, all these small improvements collectively hopefully can move the needle a bit.
Thank you. So, we aim for the stars. If we land in the moon, it's still quite good, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to take one more question. Mungkin Ibu. Okay. Maybe two more questions, but I think unfortunately we'll run out of time. But Ibu yang di depan mungkin boleh.
Hello, my name is Astrid and I work for safety and survival training called Samson Tiara. My mind is thinking about climate change all the time, and especially now, especially that I live in the very hottest area in Indonesia. So yes, the heat is on actually. Of course, it will help by the cooperation with the economy, with the AC, whatever. Yes, you're right. The heat is on. With the collaboration, it will work actually. We can handle it. But my question is about climate change and our economy. Change will always take costs of power and money. My big question is, first, can we handle and manage or find solution for the change? And will the climate change will change our economy? Will our economy grow better or go worse? And if it's grow better, everyone happy. But if it's getting worse, everyone was sad. If it's getting worse, Is there any way for us, especially the small economy, to handle it? That's all the question. Thank you.
Okay, maybe Mas Yus.
It should be a minister answering your question, but I'm not. Okay, absolutely, we won't have economy if you don't tackle this climate change. Okay, I always mention this. You know, all the government in the world has committed to 1.5 degrees, right? Having this Paris Agreement, and we always updating our NDC, right? Our target to the UN every 5 years, and then every years, what we do, we're doing enhanced, whatever they call it. But let me tell you, if all the countries committed to what they plan, we still arrive at 2.5 degrees C. That's, if I'm not mistaken, 2.4 degrees C by 2050. Okay? So we need more than state actors to keep, to achieve this target 1.5 degree C. That's why we are here. Okay? That's why KADIN Indonesia step up and to say that net zero is not only for government, but also us as a business actor. Do you agree or not? Okay. Second, if Indonesia is not committed to what we submitted already, the NDC, but the rest of the world committed, do you think Indonesia still, or our children, our grandchildren will see the sky is blue and sea level still okay? I think so. They will be okay. The planet is fine because the rest of the world committed and do what they committed to do, except Indonesia. Because, I don't know, like you said, maybe political and all that, and then the government said, udahlah, nggak usah ngapa-ngapain. So we can become a free rider. Okay? But the question now is, do you think business can be a free rider? The CBAM, I mean, right? We cannot export. The Nike, the Adidas, H&M, they said, we have to coal phase out by 2025. You know how many these apparels, footwear apparels worker or jobs involved? Minimum 1.7 million jobs. You know how much money that we make a year? 13 to 17 billion dollar export only from apparels and footwear. Okay? If we cannot fulfill or meet their target, do you think this 1.7 million jobs and 17 billion dollar export not at risk? Yes, this is at risk. See? Government of Indonesia can be free rider, but the business cannot. Our grandchildren can see the sky is still blue, but they don't have economy. We don't have economy. Because nobody wants to do trade with us. Because our product is carbon intensive. So, back to you, the question. You want to do it now? Reduce emission, or you want to be free rider as well? If you want to be free rider, let's don't do this challenge because this lady is going to spend 10 billion rupiah, right? Better for her life maybe or whatever she's going to use that 10 billion rupiah. She's going to spend this 10 billion rupiah for us to be, not to be a free rider, to keep this economy, to keep this 1.7 billion jobs still exist, to keep this $17 billion only from apparels and footwear still there for our grandchildren to eat, to live. So believe me, There's no business, no economy if we all become free rider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mas Yus. I saw there's one question, so I'm gonna take one last question from Bapaknya yang ada di situ, and then I think we have to wrap this. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Yumir from Automa. We are IoT-based supply chain platform that track activity-based and also carbon footprint tracking. I have a few questions. From your experience in KADIN Net Zero Hub, yeah, how critical and how important is the scope 3 carbon footprint calculation is for the industry in Indonesia at the moment in terms of time and commitment? And what is, let's say, as the end user in the manufacturing, how high is the power of the end user to push their supplier or vendor to calculate carbon footprint rightfully?
It is very important, and do it now.
Do it.
Yeah, do it
Okay.
now.
And the second question regarding is actually how important is using primary data as like from sensor in terms of the method, in terms of like compliance and methodology to create the report.
Okay. Now we're working with Adidas. Okay, Adidas has how many? Around 20 supply chain in Indonesia. Adidas is only one of the principal, right? Many other principal in this fashion, this footwear, apparels industry, like I mentioned. There are a lot. And if you want to combine the numbers, it's more than 100 companies, Indonesian companies. It's 1.7 million jobs, minimum. Okay? So, scope 3, of course it is their scope 3. Right? Okay. If you don't do something, then we lose this job. We lose this 70 billion. Okay, so we have to do something. Okay? In terms of solution, sit down with our My Knowledge partner to define what is needed, and sit down with this principle, not only with Adidas, with so many others. Because what we are doing now is still manual.
Manual, okay, sure.
Okay, so do it now. Let's,
Singkat, padat, dan jelas, do it now. Okay.
One of the
All right, so.
Just a very quick hint, and not only the big companies, but we are about to we are about to push all the e-commerce platform to also think about their scope 3. So they soon will need to calculate their scope 3. So that's one of the biggest challenges as well for us, and perhaps an opportunity for you.
Sure, sure.
Even the banking. Yeah, remember the emission, finance emission for the big company, a big bank like SSBC. It's a scope 3. You know how many billions of dollars the portfolio of financing? And look at the fund, the asset owner, the asset management company who has portfolio in Indonesian market or stock market. It's also scope 3. Do they have any way to calculate this to, to have? Not yet. Now we have Japanese initiative from METI of Japan, the Ministry of Economy and Trade and Investment and Industry. Sorry, they bring their own solution to do the counting and until the monitoring of their supply chain in Indonesia. Japanese supply chain in ASEAN. This initiative is coming from ASEAN Net Zero Hub. They also need a solution. They even have their own solution to monitor the Japanese supply chain in ASEAN. So do it now.
Okay, unfortunately, I think we are running out of time. Thank you so much, Mas Yus, Heng Dean, Mas Almo, for the very insightful and lively discussions today. And thank you so much for everyone who is coming to this event at XenSpace and everybody who is in the audience online. I'll give it back to Philly.
All right, thank you so much, Avina, and all our three speakers. Let's give another round of applause for the very insightful session. Okay, so before we continue, I'd like for the speakers to please still stay on stage, but maybe stand up and move a little bit further to that side because we're going to have some token of appreciation from Adventures. So we're gonna do it one by one. Avina, maybe you can stay with me on this side. Yes. All right. Okay. So after this, we're going to also have another Q&A session about the Climate Impact Innovations Challenge program. I think we missed out the Q&A session earlier before. But before that, let's start with the first token of appreciation. Avina, maybe you can stand in the center, and then we'll give the first one to Mr. Muhammad Yusrizki. So we'll take a picture here in the center. Right, okay. So we're gonna give some time to take the commemorative picture. 1, 2, 3, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Mas Yus, please stay on stage. We're gonna take a group picture later. The second one, we're going to give a token of appreciation for Mr. Heng Dean. Please welcome to the center of the stage. We're gonna take picture together. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. Right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Mr. Heng Dean. Last but not least, we have Mr. Almo Pradana. And then after this, we're gonna have the group picture. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now Mas Yus and Mr. Heng Dean can also gather on stage. So, yeah, okay. All right, we're gonna give some time for a picture of 4 of them. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's give another round of applause for all speakers from KADIN Net Zero Hub, Triputra Agro Persada, and also WRI Indonesia. We have had an insightful panel discussion and also Q&A session. Right, okay. So, as we have the Q&A session for the panel discussion, I think we're gonna also have a Q&A session for the Climate Impact Innovations Challenge program. So for those of you who have already listened to our presentation earlier, okay. So for those of you, do you guys have any questions maybe about the Climate Impact Innovation Challenge, or maybe we can show, okay, it's shown here. Maybe I'll just remind everyone that we have 4 tracks here. Maybe we can go to the slide of the 4 tracks, which is food and agriculture, renewable energy, mobility, and also ocean. So just to give some further information for everyone. So anyone from around the world can participate. So it doesn't have to be Indonesian-based team. So it can be globally. It can be in Southeast Asia, from Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, or anywhere in the world, as long as the solution is targeted to Indonesian market. All right. Okay, and then for the team, you can also join, like, for example, there's a researcher and then there's like a business person. Then you guys can also form a team to participate in this program. So does anyone in the audience probably have any questions regarding the challenge? Okay, we have one question here. Maybe can someone help pass the mic as well? Okay, the mic is coming to you. Okay, or you can use mine.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ami Pramitasari. I'm from, before my previous office was in Connectis Indonesia, and now I'm working in the energy sector and create a media focus on energy and new renewable energy. It's very interesting topic that you deliver about the competition, right? I just want to ask, is it kind of like a prototype product or just an idea or concept? And what about the intellectual property right? Is it belong to the inventor or for the thematic ventures? The first question. The second question is, what about the one, what is called, 10 billion rupiah is all for how many winners they will achieve, and what kind of assistance that you will present to us, or about technical assistance, or about the funding, or about the future, or I don't know. Can you tell us detail about this, what is called, big money, about the money, okay? For your information, my company before was create some magnetic generator using a solar panel, but for military purpose, we have a collaboration with Indonesian Defense Minister to develop new renewable energy to support the remote area. But we will switch to mass product. I mean to can survive to supply household in around Indonesia. I think I'm gonna switch a little bit smaller and small scales, something like that. Maybe it will relate to your program. That's why I want to know more about the information about the climate innovation challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. What's your name again?
I'm Avina Sugiarto.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So I'm gonna answer one by one. So the first one is about the product itself. So what we're looking for is a product that are already in their MVP stage. So so if it's just an idea, then you guys still have time to develop it into the product. So in terms of like the technical things, the technology readiness is at level 6. Yeah. So it's ready to also be commercialized once it's enter the competition. So that's the first one. And then the second one is about the IP rights that you mentioned. Of course, it still belongs to the inventors of the technology. Okay, and then the third one is about the prize, how many winners and what kind of assistance are given to those finalists and also the winners. So maybe if we can go to the timeline a bit. Yeah, so for the timeline, there's actually mentorship sessions during July here. So there will be 12 finalists announced on June. And then after that, those finalists will get mentorship from experts of their respective industry. So depending on the tracks that they follow, they will gonna get mentors from each track. And then apart from that, we also offer like a lot of exclusive benefits and perks. Let's say, for example, we have some collaborations with Google Cloud or AWS or more coming partners. And then the next one is about the total prize, which is at a total of 10 billion rupiah. So there will be at least 4 winners. But again, if there are lots of like high quality teams joining, the prizes might be split to more winners. So hope that answers the questions. Did I answer all your questions, or do you have anything else? Okay, it's been covered all. Okay. Do we have any questions from the online? All good? Okay. So if it's all good, then I'm going to just remind, okay, there's another question.
What is the criteria on the assessment of the prototype product? You said the TRL6. Yeah. What kind of the assessment? Thank you. Criteria.
Right. Okay. So the criteria for assessment is, I think it's a bit technical. And it really depends like on our internal judges and review. But for now, what you can check is we have all the more complete information on climateimpactinnovations.com on our website. So for now, what we can share is this 5 criteria. But as for the judging, again, it goes back to like the internal judge and review. Okay, hope that answers your questions, Simba. Right, so for everyone who also wants to stay updated on our program, don't forget to check our social media to give us a follow at Instagram and Twitter at CIIC_SEA. And then we also have our LinkedIn at Climate Impact Innovations Challenge. And don't forget to apply by 26 May 2023. So it's in a few more weeks. It's in 2 weeks from now. So if you guys already have like your products and everything, please apply now. Right, so before we end the session, we have a feedback form here. If everyone kindly can help scan the QR code and fill in the feedback form. And while doing so, we are also preparing some snacks and coffee and refreshers on the side. So later on, you can fill in the form while having your snacks. It's 3 p.m., so it's a good time for snacking and coffee. So you won't get like too sleepy or too hungry for the next dinner. Okay, before we close, we'll also like to thank you, our partners who have supported the Climate Impact Innovations Challenge program. We have our strategic partners, Triputra Agro Persada, our investor partners, Telkomsel Mitra Inovasi and Rumah Group, our challenge partners, AWS, Bibit, Cosmart, Fore, Google, Clerco, Liberty Society, Sociola, Tech in Asia, WRI, Hutan Kota Pelataran, and also Standard, who hosted the space for us today. We also have our outreach partners, 7.5 Degree, Angin, ASC, Block 71, Daily Social, Earth Venture, Ecosystem, Generasi Lestari, GFI, Instellar, Impacto, Innovate 360, Katadata, Kinobi, KR Asia, LTKL, Meranti, Ora, Lestari, Plug and Play, Startup X, Republic Polytechnic, Technote Global, Thai Startup, United University, and also Starfindo. So hopefully everyone has had a great time on the session. On behalf of XenVentures, I'd like to thank everyone for your participation and apologies for any inconvenience or wrongdoings. Again, please kindly help to fill in the feedback form, and also do enjoy the snacks while everyone can also get to know each other, introduce each other on our networking session. So thank you again, everyone. Can I get another round of applause? Okay, thank you and see you. Bye.